So I've been helping people become bookkeepers for a while now, and a very common question that comes up a lot is, when are you ready? Like, people will email me with their stories and ask me if I think that they're ready to start their business. And this, of course, is a really complex question for me to answer because it depends on so many factors, including your personality, what experience you have, and then also there's different schools of thought about when you should actually start your business. So different people that you talk to might give you different advice. So in this video, I'm going to give you 4 signs that you're ready, as well as 4 tips to think through when you're trying to decide if you're ready to start your bookkeeping business. And then next week, I'm going to go through some real life examples of people who emailed me or messaged me about if they're ready and what situations they were in. And maybe that would also help you apply to your situation when you're deciding when you're ready to start bookkeeping. So make sure you subscribe by hitting the red button down below to get that video, as well as every week I give you guys a new video about bookkeeping and getting organized. And if we haven't met before, my name is Morgan and my website is FinePoints.biz. I do lots of education for bookkeepers on how to start your business and support you along the way. All right, so the first sign that you might be ready that you should do before you start your business is become proficient in QuickBooks. So make sure you learn that program, or if you're using a different bookkeeping program, then proficient in that. So I always recommend the Pro Advisor training. It's a free training through QuickBooks Online. I have a video about it right here that I will link from a couple years ago. And many people are of the mindset that just doing that Pro Advisor training doesn't make you ready to be a bookkeeper. And I can definitely understand that process, that thought process. There are some more complexities just to working with clients and understanding, the ins and outs of how to do that. But I might argue that most bookkeepers do start having learned QuickBooks. So that is a sign that you're on the right track, you're ready to get started. All right, the next one, this should have been number 1 maybe, but you know and understand, what does a bookkeeper do? So you're able to articulate that to a potential client that you may have. You know kind of like the range of duties that you can do as a bookkeeper. So the reconciling the bank accounts, downloading bank transactions, categorizing them, that is kind of like the very basics that are a great place to start as a new bookkeeper. And then from there, there's other services you can add on, invoicing and payroll and those kinds of things. I have a video called What Does a Bookkeeper Do? That's what the thumbnail looks like. And so you can check that out if you need to. I also have this I think really helpful decision tree chart that if you don't know where to start as a bookkeeper, this will guide you through the process. First of all, deciding you want to be a bookkeeper, then getting training, and then getting your first client, like all of the decisions that you need to make, and kind of lays it out for you really clear. So of course, all this stuff that I mentioned is going to be linked in the description box below. All right, and the third sign you're ready is you have set up your business. So I do say that this can sometimes happen simultaneously as you're maybe even looking for a client and kind of doing your training and learning about bookkeeping. What does a bookkeeper do? Or maybe you already got a client and that's why you want to be a bookkeeper. So then you're like, oh, I need to set up my business. But that is a good thing to start with, I believe. And it can make you feel more prepared. So, if you have your business license, you have your business name, you have maybe a website or an email address, you have all these things in place, ready to start taking on clients. And shameless plug, I do have a class that's called Bookkeeper Business Coach that walks you through this process step by step. So if you don't know what to do when, or you just want that extra guidance, definitely check out Bookkeeper Business Coach. So it's designed that you can have your bookkeeping business set up in 30 days. So each week I give you 3 different action steps to do and walk you through those. All right, and the 4th sign you're ready is really just your attitude. So I think this is really one of the very biggest considerations, because I'll have people email me that are like, oh, I studied finance in college and then I was an accountant for like 3 years and I set up my business and I went through bookkeeper launch, but I still don't feel like I'm ready to start my bookkeeping business. And I'm like, okay, you have more experience than I do. You're definitely ready to start. It's just a mental block. It's that imposter syndrome or that lack of confidence in kind of jumping into the unknown. And of course, we don't want to be on the opposite side of the spectrum where we barely know QuickBooks and we're like entrusted with a big client's books. But from my experience, I'd say most often it's people who have a lot of experience, but they just don't have the confidence and it's just overwhelming to just step out on their own and start a business, which I totally understand. I was definitely the same way. I didn't really know that many entrepreneurs. No one in my family had really started a business. So it did take a lot of effort, and it was helpful to have my friend who was helping mentor me. And that is kind of the idea behind my Bookkeeper Business Coach class. So yeah, attitude is the last thing. I do have a video all about imposter syndrome if you want to hear more about that. this is what the thumbnail looks like. Check that video as well. Okay, and then next I have just 4 tips that will help you hopefully get started. Let me know in the comments where you're at in your bookkeeping business, and if you are also having the problem of just getting that hurdle, if you're trying to decide if you're ready, or maybe you've already started your business, let us know, and then maybe we can help out each other in the comments. All right, tip number 1 is start small. So don't try to take on a giant client that's really, really complex as your first attempt at bookkeeping. Think about what you know and what you've learned, and then apply that in a small way to a small client. Number 2 is don't wait until everything's perfect. It's very likely that you might not ever feel ready to start your bookkeeping business, so don't try to think that there's going to be like this magical time when you're like, okay, I'm 100% confident in all the skills and I know everything there is to know about it. No, anytime you start a job, when I worked in corporate America, I had different jobs within the company. And every time I started a new job, it was really overwhelming and I didn't know how to do things and I needed to learn on the job. I think there's some phrase that says that it takes like a year or maybe it's 6 months to really learn how to do any job competently. And don't forget, you can learn and research things as you go. So if you have a client who needs to use classes, spend some time, spend a couple hours on YouTube and watch a ton of training videos on how to use classes. I definitely did that all the time as a beginning bookkeeper, and usually I wouldn't charge my client for those hours that I was learning, but I just figured it was bettering myself and my skills as a bookkeeper. All right, number 3 is just kind of a bit of encouragement, I guess. Just remember that oftentimes business owners do their own bookkeeping. It is very common for like a solopreneur, someone just starting out, to get a QuickBooks subscription, start doing their own bookkeeping. And yes, it doesn't always turn out stellar sometimes. There can be mistakes, things can get messed up. But if you are on the road to be a bookkeeper, you're doing some of those trainings I talked about, maybe you took Bookkeeper Launch or you're doing the Pro Advisor training, you likely know more than a business owner who's kind of like doing their own books as an afterthought. So hopefully that's encouraging. All right, and number 4 is know your personality. So you might be the type of person who needs extra help and extra support at the beginning just to feel confident. So maybe it's going to be best for you to work in an office for a while. Maybe you look up job postings and you see someone is hiring a bookkeeper for minimum wage, and that is something that is going to help you learn on the job, get trained in a more formal setting, and then get that confidence that you need to kind of boost yourself into your own business where you're going to be able to charge a higher hourly rate and make more money. Let me know in the comments if there's any other tips you have about how to feel ready as a bookkeeper. And definitely tune in next week when I do go through those real life examples of people and where they're at and if I think they're ready to start bookkeeping. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate you watching and subscribing and being engaged with my channel. It helps me out so much and it's really exciting to see everything grow. So I hope you have a great week and we'll talk to you soon. Bye.